if you're the type of dude that you love Brazil as a country, culture, you're into football, you love the food, these women will gravitate towards you more.
Hey, Jamie Woods, we here to travel and motivate. No curry, we just trying to keep our minds in the golden state. We answer to nobody but the Lord, we control our fate. Too many things to see just to sit in a hole and bake. We growing, hey.
Let me tell you the thing about Brazil, which you passport bros, because I'm not a passport bros, even though we go to the same places, but I don't consider myself a passport bro. So you passport bros, if you thinking about coming to Brazil as your first trip, don't do it. You might as well just skip Brazil. If you're a passport.
Another thing that he mentioned is he said that Brazil isn't a country for first-time tourists to visit. Like if you're traveling for the first time, don't go to Brazil. Now, this I will agree with. I do agree with him on this one. And the reason why I agree with him on this specific point is because Brazil is a place that you have to be somewhat of a advanced tourist to go to Brazil. Like this is what I always recommend to my beginner tourists is if you're a beginner tourist, start off in North America or the Caribbean, which is basically North America. But start off in Canada, go to Montreal, have some fun over there, or you could just travel domestically. Just go to Las Vegas, LA, Miami, just go domestically. Get on a plane, get used to being on a plane, get used to being in a different state or city or location, and do that. Go up to Canada, try not to go in the wintertime or in the fall because it gets very cold, and go to Montreal, go to Toronto, go to Quebec City, whatever. Go to Mexico, go to Cancun, Tulum, whatever. Shout out to QB.
Pesquisa Santa Catarina.
Sí, Santa Catarina.
Ah, sí. Sí, Santa Catarina é muito belo. O melhor lugar do Brasil. Tem segurança em Santa Catarina. Praias são muito lindas. Muito bonitas.
Okay.
E eu sou personal trainer.
Oh, sim.
Entrenadora em espanhol, ¿sí?
Sí, lo dijiste bien. Sí, entonces cuando yo voy para Caterina, yo te voy a mandar un mensaje porque yo puedo entrenar con usted.
Sí, tienes uma treinadora acá.
Sí, ¿te parece como una entrenadora?
Tá bom, tem. Hoje foi um dia Opa! Se é um dia bom pra Batalha do Jam, todo mundo.
Go to the Caribbean, go to the Dominican Republic, go to Puerto Rico, go to maybe even Cuba at this point. A lot of brothers are going to Cuba too. Go to Jamaica. You know, I always say that this is one thing I will say about the Dominican Republic is when it comes to the best bang for your buck, I would have to give it to the Dominican Republic because you go ahead and you go to these all-inclusive or you book a all-inclusive resort, you drop down a rack and literally everything is included with it. The food, the drinks, everything. You get everything included in that package. So you're not spending too much money going to the Dominican Republic. So I would recommend those specific countries if you're a first-time tourist. And then from there, once you've experienced all that, then maybe you can dive to a Colombia. Then you can dive to a Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Uruguay, Europe, Asia, wherever. But I would say dominate your continent first, then you go other places. So I do agree with him that I don't think Brazil is a place that you should go as a first-time traveler. Because here's the thing about Brazil. A couple things about Brazil. It's very long distance. All right, it's very long distance, and the plane tickets are very expensive. You're spending over $1,000 for a plane ticket to go to Rio de Janeiro or Sao Paulo or anywhere in Brazil. It's expensive. The other thing is you're literally going to be on the flight for 10 plus hours, depending on how far or how long the layover is. That's going to scare you off as a first-time traveler. Like literally, if you go through that once, you may not want to go through it again, and you may not even want to travel after that. So you're better off not discouraging yourself like that. You kind of got to build up the momentum. So that's why I said go to the Dominican Republic. It's only 2-3 hours. Go to Florida, travel domestically. Travel to Canada, only a couple hours. It's cheap, only a couple $100. Go to Mexico, right? Only a couple hours. But Brazil, it's so far deep. We're talking 10 plus hours. You're literally going to be there a whole day, uncomfortable in a plane, and you spent over $1,000 on those tickets. So as a first-time traveler, you're going to get discouraged. The other thing about Brazil is that it's completely different from what we're used to around here. We're used to the way Americans do things, North Americans. Like Brazil does its things in its own pace. You know what I mean? It can be a little hectic depending where you go. The traffic is crazy. You know, it can be a little dangerous depending where you go, certain spots. You know what I mean? And this is what I mean by dangerous is a lot of the crime in Brazil is petty theft, right? So they'll steal your phone, your chain, all that, right? That type of stuff. And if you're a first-time traveler, you may not know how to conduct or how to act overseas. That's why I say go to Mexico, go to Dominican Republic, go to Canada, go to these other places, learn how it is to be in a different country and how to maneuver and how to act, how to move in other countries. You got to learn how to move. Brazil, you got to learn. You better know how to move in Brazil, because if you don't know how to move in Brazil, you're gonna get your shit stolen. Something bad's gonna happen to you. Another thing about Brazil is the language. Is only 1% of the population speaks English, okay? And even those people that speak English probably don't even speak it fluently like that. So imagine if you're a American that only knows English and you're going to a country where only 1% of that population speaks English. You're gonna have a very rough time. In fact, I had a bit of a rough time, and I practice a little bit. I practiced a little bit of Portuguese before I even went there. I try to learn a little bit of Portuguese. I know a little bit of Spanish, and I know Spanish isn't the national language down there, but it is helpful. And even then, I struggled. So imagine some of you brothers going down there with no understanding of Portuguese. You don't know how to move. It's going to be a rough time for you. And on top of that, Brazil can be a little pricey. So you got to make sure you save up. It's not as expensive as Europe or as America, but it's not as cheap as a Colombia, for example. So you got to save up a little bit of money before you go to Brazil. All right. But I do agree with him on that. I don't recommend it as a first time traveler place. It's more of a place that you should go to if you're experienced. But one thing I do disagree with him, at the end, he said, you just totally skip it. I don't agree with that. I think Brazil is a must see country. You have to go, especially if you're a single dude. If you're a single man, a single woman, or just anything in general, you're in a couple, you're in a marriage, in a relationship, definitely visit, because it's a very beautiful country. But let's get back to this.
Just go to Colombia or bite the bullet and take that 18-hour, 24-hour flight to Thailand, because it's so worth it and it's so much better. Brazil, I'm gonna tell you what I figured it out, and Brazil is not a hookup culture. What do I mean by that? Like, you'll see a lot of beautiful women, but the women, they are all either you see a beautiful woman and she's with a guy, you know, so it's all couples, right? Or you see a lot of beautiful women together and they're all in packs. It's like 5, 4, 3 girls, maybe 1 guy. So you don't know when to strike. I mean, you can go to the places where you know that the women are single.
All right, let me talk real quick. All right, so he said that Brazil is not, there's no hookup culture in Brazil, and that's far from the truth. There is a huge hookup culture in Brazil. But like I said, only 1% of the population speaks English. This fella doesn't look like he speaks any lick of Portuguese, meaning that he's not going to really meet as many girls as he would hope to because he doesn't speak the language. This also happened to me as well, where I was trying to meet people, I was trying to network, and it was very difficult because I didn't know Portuguese and they didn't know English, and they don't know much Spanish either. So I have nothing to work with. I didn't really get to meet as many people as I wanted to. So this fella is saying there's no hookup culture, but that's because you don't speak the language. And these chicks, it don't, bro. I've approached a couple girls out in Brazil, and I've tried to like talk to them, like, hey, boa noite, bom dia, boa tarde. And I try to talk to them, como você está, this, that. And besides the basic introductory terms, I didn't know what else to tell them after that. So they'll be speaking to me and I'll be as lost as a puppy, as a deer in headlights. I didn't know what to tell them at that point after that, because I didn't really understand Portuguese. But what I've seen is that if you're a dude that speaks Portuguese, that has a basic understanding of Portuguese, you can have full-blown sentences. You can make full-blown sentences. You're going to get lucky out there, because these women love Americans. They love Americans out there. They're not going to roll over the red carpet for you. They're not going to bend over backwards for you. There's no like immense wow factor over there in terms of like Americans, right? So when I mean wow factor, I'm talking about, you know, this whole thing where these girls like perceive you as super high value because you're American. Like they're going to roll over backwards for you or whatever the case is. They don't do that in Brazil. Like, sure, you may get a couple girls like that, but for the most part, if you're American, I mean, all right, they're going to be interested in that, but they're not going to fucking hook up with you just because. They're not going to date you just because. You kind of got to prove yourself a little bit too. So Brazil's a little weird the way it works. But if you do know Portuguese and you do love Brazilian culture and you have a fair understanding of it, right? So if you listen to the music, you rock with soccer or football, you like the food, you like the culture, you know Portuguese, you're gonna have a great time in Brazil. That's what I was saying about the double-edged sword, is that Brazil can either be a very easy place to date or a very hard place to date. Because it's hard, because if you don't have any understanding of Portuguese, you don't know about the culture, you didn't do your homework, it's going to be difficult for you, because you're not going to be able to connect to anybody, because you can't speak to any one of them. They're not going to be able to understand you. But if you do have a fair understanding of Brazilian culture and you speak Portuguese, it could be a very great experience for you, because these girls love that. One thing I realized about Brazilian women, and I'm not telling anybody to do this to be manipulative or to be fake. Like, you have to be authentic with it. You know what I mean? Like, if you fuck with Brazilian culture, you fuck with it. If you don't fuck with it, don't pretend like you fuck with it just to get the women. You know what I mean? Some brothers do that. But if you're the type of dude that you love Brazil as a country, culture, you're into football, you love the food, these women will gravitate towards you more, because they just love a man that loves Brazil. They love a man that loves Brazil. So if you demonstrate this to them, that you love Brazil and that you know a thing or two about Brazil as an American man, you speak the language, you speak Portuguese, they're going to fall head over heels for you. Yes, that will make them fall head over heels for you. They love that. They love it when a man is invested into their country, because I feel like a lot of Brazilian people feel like nobody is interested in their country like that. Because you have to think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Like, if you look at South America, Latin America as a whole, the country that's kind of the black sheep, and I've talked about this briefly with Camilla. So if you guys want to check out that full-blown conversation I had with Camilla, she's from Sao Paulo, originally from Rio, but Sao Paulo. Check out my Real Talk number 10 interview with Camilla. It's a great interview, my favorite interview ever. Check that out. But I told her, do you feel like Brazil is the black sheep of South America, of Latin America, just because you guys don't speak Portuguese? And she's like, yeah, but it's a good thing, right? It makes us unique. But yeah, she did agree that she felt like Brazil was the black sheep of Latin America because they don't speak Spanish. So oftentimes their music, the culture, the food, everything gets like brushed off. It gets like kind of, it's not on the radar the same as like, let's just say Dominican Republic, Colombia, these other countries are. It's not on the radar. Nobody really listens to Brazilian music like that in Latin America or even America. If I were to tell you a couple of Brazilian artists, most Americans, 9 out of 10 Americans will not know who these people are. And that's because Brazilian culture is kind of brushed off. So when a man takes interest in that culture and they actually fuck with that shit, they fuck with the culture, they love that. Just like, finally, I met a man that really loves this shit. You know what I mean? I met like, because they love their country, they're patriotic. So when they meet a man that's just as patriotic, even though they're not from there, they love that. They love the fact you took some time to research their culture and you're not just there to plow them. You know what I mean? So yeah, guys. So that's the thing about Brazil, is Brazil can be a very easy country to date, but it's also a very difficult country to date if you didn't do your homework. And that's what I love about Brazil. That's 100% what I love about Brazil. And that's why Brazil, as I stated before in my other video, will never be ruined by tourists. Because if you want to succeed in Brazil, and it's not even just women, we're talking all around. If you're trying to succeed in Brazil, you got to be invested into Brazil. This isn't a country like some other countries that I won't name, that you just go in there and then chicks will bow down for you or whatever the case is. Nah, in Brazil, you have to earn your stripes. But once you've earned your stripes, it's extremely rewarding. It's extremely rewarding to learn Portuguese, man, in a place like Brazil. These Brazilians are very social, fun people. If you're able to speak to them, it's going to enhance your experience in Brazil. Brazilians are very giving people. They'll literally give you free food, whatever the case is, just cause. And they love Americans, but the issue is they're not able to communicate with you because you don't speak Portuguese. All right. So like I said, it could be very easy, very difficult. Just depends.